Welcome back to another episode of Play by Play. This is episode number 13. We're actually in week number 13 in NFL right now. I want to talk about in this episode, obviously brought to you by Win or Lose Sports, sponsored by P360studios.com. Creativity takes full circle. I want to talk about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, and where does everyone rank Dak Prescott as a quarterback in the NFL this year? Because I know earlier this year I made a comments on a previous podcast about how we were frustrated with Dak and how terrible he's been playing. Well, specifically last year with the interceptions, and earlier this year he did the same thing in Arizona and in San Francisco. But since then, since the San Francisco game, and including the Philadelphia game, Dak and the Cowboys have been playing at an elite level that most people probably didn't think that the quarterback could play at, as far as Dak as the Cowboys quarterback could play at. But he's shown that he can play at a high level, and we can win games with him playing at the high level. I said earlier this year that in order for the Cowboys to be successful and make it a deep run in the playoffs, Dak would have to play at an elite level, and I think that's what he's doing. Not sure how deep of a run the Cowboys can make, but I'm hoping that the run will be deeper than it's been in the previous years, and I'm thinking that it will, because of how consistent he's been playing over the last few weeks. So when you talk about ranking quarterbacks in the NFL, a lot of people don't have Dak highly ranked because of previous years. But the problem I have is Dak has never been a high turnover quarterback. He's always been a low turnover quarterback, even his rookie year. I think he only had between 6 and 9 interceptions his rookie year. Right now, he's leading the league, second in the league with 23 touchdowns behind Josh Allen, who has 24 touchdowns. He's only got 6 interceptions. Josh Allen has 13. And a lot of people rank Josh Allen as a top tier elite quarterback, regardless of his turnovers. And I don't know if it's because of the team he plays for, and Dak plays for the Cowboys, so there's more pressure. Obviously, there's more pressure playing for the Cowboys just because of the organization, just because of who they are, what division they're in, and the history of the team. I understand that. But what I don't get is not giving him the credit that he deserves as far as how good he's been playing this year. So he has 2,900 yards, which is 2,915 yards. Like I said, 23 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. He has the highest percentage of completion rate, which is 70% from starting quarterbacks. The highest percentage. So how do you not give this man the credit that he deserves as one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now? I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback in football, but the way he's playing better than C.J. Stroud. He's playing better than Brock Purdy, better than Josh Allen, better than Patrick Mahomes, who has 19 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, I believe. But because of the history of the Cowboys not going deep in the playoffs, not going to Super Bowls, not winning divisional championships, so they put that stigma onto Dak because of the team he's associated with. If Dak was performing like this with any other team, I'm sure he will be ranked as one of the top tier quarterbacks. Fair or not, that's Dak Prescott. Like I said, he's playing as one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. Should he be in the MVP conversation? I think he should be, especially with the Cowboys winning. Have an 8-3 record. It'll be 9-3 after tonight, after they play the Seahawks, and it'll be, you know, I don't think they're going to lose more than 4 games this year. So to not have him in the MVP conversation, to not have him as an elite quarterback, I think it's a disservice and disrespectful to the way he's playing. There are some retired quarterbacks or injured quarterbacks who's saying that Dak is, you know, one of their favorite players to watch this year, one of their favorite quarterbacks to watch this year, is because of how he's playing, how he's being effective with his legs, or being smart when it comes to reading the defense, when it comes to throwing the ball downfield to CeeDee Lamb, to Brandon Cooks. And I don't think anybody else is playing at that level and winning at the same time. You got C.J. Stroud down in Houston, who's been playing at an MVP level all year, but they're not winning that many games. I mean, they're middle of the road. I think they're 6-5 now, but I would still have him in the conversation too. But Dak playing at that level and the Cowboys winning should have him in the conversation, have him as an elite quarterback, because he is, right, to this year. He's never been a bad quarterback. He's always been a good game manager, but he's always been a guy who took care of the ball up until last year when he had the thumb injury. So the conversation must be had. Dak Prescott, MVP. Dak Prescott, Pro Bowl, obviously. But I think he's going to lead this team into the playoffs, a deep run into the playoffs. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people say, "Well, they haven't played anybody. Beat a team over 500." Okay, we'll see that tonight. Then tonight they play the Seahawks, who's 6-5. So after we beat them, they'll be 500. So will there be complaints about the Cowboys beating a 500 team or a team that's 1 over 500? Now, they lost to San Francisco last week. So I think the complaint is going to be now, oh, well, they got beat up last week. Now the Cowboys come in and, you know, finish them off. Yeah, that's our job. Whoever's in front of us, we're going to play them the same way, no matter how good or how terrible they are. I think this week is going to prove to the haters and the naysayers of how good the Cowboys are. If you don't believe it, go watch the tape. Go watch the tape of the previous few weeks. Go watch the tape in Philadelphia. That wasn't a bad game for the Cowboys. Philadelphia just had a couple of plays better than us and won the game. It's the weird energy that when people say, well, y'all haven't beat good teams, y'all haven't beat a team over 500, when your team is not above 500. Your team hasn't beat but one team over 500, or no teams over 500. When you say, oh, the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl in 28 years or 30 years, your team haven't won a Super Bowl at all, or in 40 years. Especially when Vikings fans have something to say about the Cowboys when they haven't won a Super Bowl since when? 1976 or whenever it was? There should be no commentary from a Vikings fan below 500 or at 500 and haven't won a Super Bowl in 40 years, 40 plus years, or whenever it was. So, I wasn't going to take this whole show and bash other teams, but that's what we get when we post celebratory comments or post celebratory facts about our team. When we praise our team, people are upset that we praise our team. Because we love our team so much that you hate us. You hate us that much because we love our team so much? It is what it is. Now you'll see the results of what happens this year when we make a deep run in the playoffs. When we beat the Seahawks, when we beat the Dolphins, when we beat the Lions, when we beat Philadelphia. You'll see what happens when we make it to the playoffs and we beat San Francisco. Yeah, I said that I fear San Francisco because they're a dangerous team. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm not dishonest about how I feel about football because I've been watching football and analyzing football for so long. So when I say I fear them, they're a dangerous team. Yes. And they should fear the Cowboys because the Cowboys is a dangerous team. You got weapons on offense. You got Dak Prescott, who's an elite quarterback this year. You got CD Lamb, who's a top tier number one receiver. You got Brandon Cooks, who's a great slot receiver. You got Jake Ferguson, who's probably one of the best tight ends in the league right now. Our defense itself, as a whole, Deron Bland, Micah Parsons, Odigizua, DeMarcus Lawrence, Stephon Gilmore, who's been quiet this year, but still, they're not throwing it his way because they're scared. Now you're going to throw it to Deron Bland's way, he's going to get an interception. Our special teams, you got our special teams kick returner who can bust out a return at any moment and who's been playing at as a great receiver. So, yes, I would fear the Cowboys. I say I fear the San Francisco 49ers because they have weapons too on offense. So I'm not out there playing. I'm not coaching. But it's going to be it's going to be a rough game. It's going to be a tough game for us to win that game. But I believe we can do it. So the Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, and I would say the Detroit Lions. Top 4 teams in the NFC. Out of those 4 teams, which of those teams can you say looks like they're dominating other teams? No matter who they're playing, what the record is, because the schedule that's put on paper is not something that the Cowboys did themselves. Because the Philadelphia Eagles play the same schedule with the exception of a few teams that the Cowboys play. So does the Giants, so does the Commanders. So you can't put all this schedule. The schedule is weak. Yeah, okay. Philadelphia's schedule is weak too. Then the Giants' schedule is weak too, and they're not winning. Commanders' schedule is weak too, and they're not winning. So you got to throw it out the window. You got to throw these excuses out the window of why the Cowboys are good. I'm not saying the Cowboys are the best team in the NFL, but they're playing at a level that not many other teams are playing at. 49ers playing at an elite level on both sides of the ball. The Eagles are playing at a high level of football. They find ways to win games. They look bad at sometimes, but they find ways at the end of the game to win, that's great. That's a Super Bowl championship type team. That's what you want. You want a team that finds a way to win at the end of the game. On the AFC side, you got the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was the Buffalo Bills. They fell off. They're not beating teams. They're not beating high-level teams. People can say the same thing that they're saying about the Cowboys, about the Bills, and it'd be true. Because the Bills aren't winning these tight games, these games that they're supposed to win, or these games that count towards them going deep, having a deep run in the playoffs. Same thing about the Bengals. The Bengals just fell off. I know Joe Burrow got hurt, but they were expected to be an elite AFC team. But now you got the Chiefs, you got the Jaguars, and you got the Dolphins, who are the top 3 teams in the NFC, who are both all tied at 8-3. Can any of those teams compare to any of the teams in the NFC? As far as, because the Philadelphia Eagles already beat the Chiefs. The San Francisco 49ers already beat the Jaguars. And now the Miami Dolphins in a few weeks play the Cowboys. So these are the top 3 teams in each conference facing off. Right now, it looks like the NFC is a more dominating conference than the AFC. What does that mean in the Super Bowl? That it could be an NFC year. Either it be San Francisco, the Eagles, or the Cowboys. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs always find a way to win. That's in the playoffs, in the AFC championships, and Super Bowl, like they did last year against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm just looking forward to what's going to happen when these playoffs start. I know we got a few weeks to go. Cowboys 8-3. We got the Seahawks this week. We got the Eagles next week. We got the Dolphins, the Lions, and then the Commanders. Tonight versus the Seahawks, what I see the Cowboys doing is Dan Quinn is going to have this defense ready to blitz and come after Geno Smith. Pressure on Geno Smith obviously will cause 2 things. Pressure on the quarterback gets you sacks, or gets you a quarterback that's going to get pressured and throw the ball away. And we know what's going to happen then. That's Deron Bland, Stephon Gilmore got their hands on the ball, cause turnovers. Our sacks is going to cause fumbles, score some touchdowns on defense, as well as that'll give Dak and the offense a little more ease as far as getting into the offense. Because I know what happens with Mike McCarthy. He's going to call a conservative game like he always does in the first quarter. And then the defense is going to pick it up. Our defense is going to pick it up and put pressure on the Seahawks offense, score a couple touchdowns. That'll give Mike McCarthy the okay, let's punch him in the mouth. Let's throw the ball downfield. Let's score some touchdowns. Hopefully, Pollard and Dowdle will get the run game going, because the run game hasn't been there. I think against the Giants, when Dowdle had 79 yards and Pollard had about 44 yards. So that was the game. I think we had, it was 130 yards total because Dak ran a few yards. But that's the game. I know that's against the Giants, and everybody said, "Oh, this is against the Giants." But that's the type of run game that we need to have in order for our offense to be sufficient as far as being. You got the run game going, you got the offense, you got the pass game going, and our special teams is going to be our special teams. And our defense is going to be our defense. I think they can be an elite defense every single game. There's a few games, like, of course, Arizona and San Francisco, to where they did not play at that level. It's because I think we took the week off against Arizona. That's the one I think they were 1-0-3 at the time. So they took the week off. It was a bad play calling game by Mike McCarthy and by Dan Quinn. I think that they fixed a lot of things that were there, a lot of penalties that were happening, and they fixed the discipline problem that they were having. Because of the discipline, there's lack of discipline, there's penalties. But against the Seahawks tonight, like I said, offense should be efficient. These are the games that we want to show who we are. We want to be able to run our offense and run the playbook, run the script of the first 7 plays of the game, run the script to the T, so that we know when we play these other teams like San Francisco and like Philadelphia, we have this script set and we can run this team, even if the script changes every single game, of course. But we know when we set a script out to run these plays, that it's going to happen, that we can execute these plays, and then we can execute on defense as well. I think because of how people think how bad the Cowboys are, playing against the Seahawks will show them, okay, this you think we're a bad team or whatever. We can't play these high level teams or winning teams or teams with winning records. We're going to show you, and that's what they're going to do tonight. I think it'll be a high scoring game for the Cowboys, 42-17 for Seattle. I don't see Seattle, their defense putting a lot of pressure on Dak. And I don't see Geno Smith being successful against the Cowboys defense. As difficult as that is for non-Cowboys fans to hear, the Cowboys will beat a winning team this year. As much as you hate it, as much as it disgusts you and makes your stomach boil or bubble, the Cowboys will win against a winning team this year. So that's about it. I usually do a show after the Cowboys game, but I wanted to kind of give you a preview of how I was feeling again, getting ready for this game tonight. I want to show you or tell you what's going to happen and see your reaction of when it does happen. I'm not a Cowboys fan who's all gung ho and saying that every year this is our year and we're going to the Super Bowl, because I want to prove it. I want things to happen before I guarantee anything. But this is what I guarantee: that the Cowboys will beat these teams. I'm not saying we're going to win out the rest of our games, but watch what happens in the playoffs. Watch what happens in the playoffs. So, thanks for those who watch. Thanks for those who watch on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms and on YouTube. And go to the website winnerorloseshow.com. You can always subscribe on YouTube. There's a subscribe button on this side right here. Hit subscribe and share this with your sports groups, especially Cowboys fans. Share this with your sports groups. And we'll see you next time on Play by Play. Remember to leave comments on our Spotify account. There's always a Q&A on there. And we want to thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time on Play by Play.